and whippoorwill call. And even is night, I hurry to my blue heaven.
G'day and welcome to another instalment of My Blue Heaven. Bucky here. I am going to dedicate probably half of this episode to talking a little bit about the practice match last Thursday evening between the Blues and the Pies at Icon Park. Also want to talk a little bit about a couple of issues that have come up over the last month or so. Just before I get started, thanks again to the boys, the lads from League T, sending me through this wonderful t-shirt, 1864, the year that our magnificent football club was formed. Get on board, the boys from League T, fabulous stuff. Check their website out. Brilliant retro t-shirts there, so thanks once again. Let's have a bit of a chat about the practice game. Look, before I get started, let's put this in context. The reason why I didn't put a video up straight away after the game, I just felt like I needed a couple of days to just digest that game. It was quite weird. It was a 6-7 period game in perfect conditions at Icon Park. I think the players would have enjoyed that. A real good opportunity just to ramp up the training which they've done over the pre-season and hit some opposition bodies. But apart from that, I'd like to put it into perspective that it looked and felt like a practice match to me, and I get the feeling maybe our club approached it a little bit more seriously than what Collingwood did. And that's no disrespect to what we were able to do on the night, but I just thought Collingwood were somewhere in between, say, second and third gear, where we were somewhere in between first and second gear. I'd like to think that we could go up another gear as well, but I just think the way we wanted to approach this and maybe approach the pre-season practice matches and the two Marsh Series games coming up against Fremantle this weekend over in Western Australia, and then I think we've got the Brisbane Lions at Icon Park a week later. I think we want to keep that momentum going on what we were able to achieve at the back end of last year under David Teague. I think it's important that we keep it going for memberships, for our confidence going into round one against the Tigers. Whereas I think the Pies are a little bit more comfortable where they're at the moment in regards to obviously making a grand final a couple of years ago and just going short last year, making a prelim, and probably should have played in their second grand final in 2 years. So I'm just going to not so much talk about how well we played. I thought, in periods of the game we played pretty well, but I just want to talk about how we played rather than how well we played, and a few things that I noticed in regards to our ball movement, which I thought was really impressive. It was quick, it was fast, particularly from the back half. I know if you've gone through some of my episodes of My Blue Heaven from last year, I was very critical of the way we moved the ball under Brendan Bolton. It was very stagnant and very slow, laborious at times, and I thought there was a real shift when David Teague took over last year, but I thought it was more letting the players off the leash a little bit. Giving some licence to use their strengths, giving their licence to enjoy their football and a little bit more run and carry. So it was interesting to see whether that was going to transfer over to this year. And there's no doubt that on Thursday evening against the Pies, we saw a really attacking half-back line with Nick Newman and also the youngster coming back from a couple of years out in Tom Williamson. And how good was it to see Willow back? Just unbelievable to see what this kid's gone through in regards to his back injury. Came back for the one game last year, and then I think it was 2 games last year, and then went out and they put him on ice for the rest of the year. And to see him look so strong and so confident in his body, he hit the packs hard. He had a brilliant, opening term, and I think he played the 3 full periods of the game. And then they gave him a rest, but it was great to see him back. He's a real talent. He's tough, he's strong, he uses the ball well. Newman, he loves to run and carry as well and use it. And obviously having Simo and Doc back there now as well. They're all attacking types, and that's where you get a lot of our drive from that back half. And the thing I like about particularly Williamson and Doherty is they're good defenders as well, and they're quite smart the way they set up. So that was a real plus. And it was good to see that there was an extension of that on from last year, that T wants to play that, not so much run and gun, but get that real attacking flow from the back half. Yeah, great to see Doc back. Amazing. I thought his kicking was a little bit down, a little bit rusty with his kicking. We know he's a good kick. It was just rushed a little bit, but his tack on the ball, there was a couple of occasions where he was hit really hard, and there was a situation there where he did that blind turn and twisted the leg and all that type of stuff, but he got through unscathed, 4 quarters, looked sensational, like he hadn't missed a beat. And I suppose some of the worries was his power, because he's such a powerful player, he's good off the mark. He seemed to have lost none of that. I suppose the big thing now is how him and Willow come back from that. I know first up sometimes, players have got that adrenaline and they might be a little bit of a down period for both of those players over the next few weeks. But it was great to see Doc back, and it was almost like Teague was trying to release him as that loose in defence, and he just plays that beautifully, and he organises the back six so well. So that was a real plus from the way we want to play point of view. And I thought we were willing to hit the 45 kick inboard as well. It didn't come off a lot of the times. I thought kicking over the course of the game was pretty average, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But there was a tendency to use that 45 kick inboard and open up that corridor. And I can't remember us doing that in the first part of last year. So it's a lot more attacking gameplay. With attacking gameplay, sometimes we can get hurt on the way back if we don't use it right. But what I really liked, and this is another point, was our team defence was really solid. I thought when we had to defend, we really clogged Collingwood up. We forced them to kick short and to kick behind, to kick wide, which meant we were able to set up behind the ball, and that was really effective. And one thing I did notice, which was probably the most pleasing thing from the game, and it's something I've been really critical of, and I suppose externally from the media has been quite critical of Carlton, is our midfielders aren't two-way runners. But what I did notice was the ability for our midfielders, particularly Sam Walsh and Murph at times, young Sam Philp, Cripper, to get back and support in the back half, and won a lot of ball from our midfielders across half back and even deep in defence. So that says one thing to me, that it may be a change of mindset. Players willing to run both ways, and a big plus in regard to fitness. The boys look super fit. What Andrew Russell's been able to do to them is just unbelievable, and that really showed on Thursday evening. I thought we tackled with intent as well. I don't think we've been a great tackling side over the last 3 or 4 years, but I thought there was a real intent to put Collingwood under a lot of pressure, and that was led by the first gamer in Sam Philp. He laid about 5 or 6 tackles. One resulted in a goal for him, and he was a real plus playing his first game, picked number 20 in last year's draft. And there was a little bit of conjecture about whether that was the right pick. Sauce pulled the reins on this kid, and he looks okay. It was a really solid first up performance. He reminded me a little bit of Sam Walsh in the way he ran, was willing to link up. And he did all the right things. He got into the game early by pressuring and tackling. It wasn't so much about the kicks and handballs early, and then it started to flow because he was in the game with his intensity. He started to win, a fair bit of ball in that third term. So he was a real plus. That's about it in regards to the way we wanted to play. I suppose the most pleasing thing for me was the ruck situation, and a real concern, obviously, with Matthew Cruz, and there's no doubt for me he's the number one ruckman at the football club, and when he's up and going, we are a really good football team. But I think, I think his best is probably behind him now, and I'm not talking about his best football, but his body, and what he's able to do with his body. It just seems to be issue after issue after issue with Matthew, and the heart condition, the concussion, the feet, the knees, and he's just had a wretched run with injury. And I think it was a 217 or 218 when he probably should have been, at least on the bench in the All-Australian team. He had a magnificent year, but just seems to not be able to string, a full season together. Fingers crossed he'll be back either next week or the week after. But I thought the plus was the performances of both Mark Pittonet and young Tom de Koning. I'm first to put my hand up. I haven't seen a lot of Tom. at VFL level, he's had his injuries himself. He hasn't had massive opportunities with Lobby and Matthew Loeb, and the other ruckman that was there for the while, taking a lot of the ruck work of Phillips. Meaning he had to play forward a lot. He got a real crack at it against probably the premier ruckman in the competition, Brody Grundy. And Grundy, look, he was fairly physical on Thursday night, and that was a real plus to see him really taking the game seriously. And it was a really good hit out for Pittonet and De Koning. And De Koning just got better and better as the game went on. I thought he's competitive. He's got a good set of mitts on him, and he can go forward and kick a goal, and I thought that was a real plus. He's still got a long way to go. I think this year will still be a big development year for him, if we can get some games into him along the line. But it says that there's a fair bit to work with Tom, and I thought Pittonet's performance was really promising. Look, he's only 23, 24 years of age. I think we've got him at the right time, Pittonet. I think he's the type of ruckman which is in vogue at the moment. It's aggressive, it's competitive. He reminded me a little bit of Toby Nankervis in the way Nankervis gets back and takes really strong contested marks in the back half and then really contests at centre bounce and around the ball. Not so much at ground level, but he's a real competitor. So I'm quite confident if Cruz doesn't come up that we'll have a reasonable ruckman in Mark Pittonet. I think he's probably the next choice, and then obviously De Koning to continue to develop at VFL level. So I was happy with that. Let's just quickly go to some negatives, and there weren't many. You don't want to pick too many negatives out of a scratch match, but I thought the kicking was poor overall. Don't know whether it was a few cobwebs, but look, we haven't been a great kicking side. It's been a real bugbearer of mine over the years that we haven't been able to draft elite kickers. I don't think it helped not having Jack Martin play or SBS, Zach Fisher, and Mitch McGovern, who I think probably them four are probably in our top 5 kickers at the footy club. They didn't play. But I was a little bit disappointed with the way we used the ball, and I think that's something we really need to work on. And that pressure is only going to increase. And I can only imagine in round 1 when Richmond really hit us hard, if we're coughing the ball over or not being able to hit targets in a sort of an 80%, 75 to 80% practice match against Collingwood on a Thursday night, then God help us when we have to play the Tigers. It needs to improve, and that's something I'll be looking out for over the next couple of games in the March series. Jack Nunes was probably the main culprit. Thought his game was okay. Won a mountain of ball on his wing. It's a strong body, but geez, I think he's going to probably frustrate as the year goes on. In the mould of a Sam Kerridge, and I'm not saying that in a negative light, because I thought Kerridge had some attributes, being able to find the ball, etc. But he couldn't. He just was a really poor user. Nunes to me is an up and under sort of kick. He gets it, he kicks it high, and he doesn't kick it to great position. And it's something that look, he won a mountain of the ball, but it wasn't really an impressive performance by Jack Nunes in the way he used it. And there's a couple of other culprits as well, but I'm just picking out Jack Nunes because it was his first game. But look, that maybe it was just nerves, maybe he's a better kick than that, but it was something that I noticed on the evening. And the other thing I want to talk about is just the fundamentals. I think if we're going to compete and hopefully push towards finals this year, we need to get better at the fundamentals. And what I'm talking about there is particularly first option footy and making the right decision, and being predictable to your teammates. I think we can sometimes fall into the habit of maybe trying to do too much. And I'll just pick a couple of situations out. Michael Gibbons, who I thought played really well and had that opportunity to go into the midfield a fair bit. And I thought he did a couple of really nice things, got caught holding the ball in Collingwood's forward 50, and he tried to take about 2 or 3 players on. I don't mind that, and I don't think the coaches would mind that a player who wants to take a few risks and open the play up. But I did hear one of his teammates yell out when he got holding the ball, first option Gibbo. And I think that is something which we need to get better at, like a Richmond, like a West Coast. They're predictable. And more often than not with those top clubs, they're making the right decision because they do the right thing by the team. And he wasn't the only one. I thought Cripper did it. Cripper's done it over the last couple of years, where you often see, there goes one of the cats, you often see Cripper, when he's made a mistake like that, he punches his hand together. Sometimes in the centre of the ground, he'll go on to try and dodge a player, and he gets caught on his left foot and he kicks it high, whereas the first option might be to feed it out or just kick it straight away. And I thought for the first time in 12 months, and I hate to be critical of him, but Sam Walsh, I reckon, got caught about 3 or 4 times on Thursday night because he was trying to do too much. But that's not to say he didn't play a really good game, but he got caught about 3 or 4 times trying to dodge before just giving it off straight away. So it needs to be first option football, making that right decision. All in all, look, it was an okay hit out. Different. I was up on the Gold Coast on the weekend watching working at the Geelong and Gold Coast game, and you could just see the difference in the way the Gold Coast wanted to approach the game compared to Geelong. And I had that feeling a little bit with Collingwood in our game. But the good thing about our next Marsh Series game against Fremantle is that both teams were probably have got that mentality of wanting to do really well and wanting to win the game, because Freo, obviously under a new coach, not having a great season last year, and us wanting to build that momentum, it might be a really good test for us, and it's going to be interesting to see who plays in that game. A couple of other points I want to bring up. This one is Levi Casbolt, and I think this year he's going to be our most valuable commodity. Big Levi, big meat. And I'm not talking about Levi being our best player by any stretch of the imagination, or Levi even being in our top 5 or 6 players, but I think he's going to be this year, and maybe even next year as well, if things pan out well for him, our most valuable commodity. He's at the peak of his powers. He's no superstar, but with the fact that no Gov, no Harry, no Charlie at the moment, and what really concerns me at the moment is what the hell is going on with Mitch McGovern. He's hardly he's trained, but he really hasn't trained the main group, and that worries me. Harry worries me, and we know the situation with Charlie. And thank God that we were able to keep Levi Casbolt. And I'm the first to put my hand up. I thought he had a wonderful second half of the season last year, but when he's manager, and there was talk that he wanted an extra year on top of the contract, on top of the trigger that he was able to get last year, and get that extra year, and he wanted another one on top of that, I was the first to put my hand up and say, nah, 1 year's enough. But yeah, I think he deserved. Because this year he's going to be our most valuable player in regards to being able to play forward in the first half of the year, or the first 5 or 6 weeks when we're going to be light on, and then he's able to go back as well, and the pinch hit in the ruck as well, especially if Cruz doesn't come up and we've got a couple of young ruckmen in there. Levi Casbolt's going to be really, really important as that chop out, and we're going to be able to spend some time in the middle. The race for the last spot on the list heats up. New list manager Nick Austin, who came in and announced that obviously Brody Kemp, our first round draft pick, is on the long-term injury list, and we have to figure as well that Charlie Curnow is potentially not going to be there for most of the year as well, but almost for the first half of the year anyway. So we are a little bit light on with Kemp and Charlie, and God knows what's going on with Harry and McGov as well. So there's a spot available. Lucas Webb, former Dog player who's been training with us since basically the end of last year. I think you can count him out. He played a couple of quarters, but I'm pretty sure he did a hamstring. He certainly clutched at it and limped from the ground and was holding his hamstring, and he has had his injury issues. I think we can cross him out now. The other was Jordan Cunico, Callum Moore. Cunico, a former Cats player, fringe player at Geelong, had injury concerns last year. Sort of a cross between a small forward, a high half forward, uses the ball pretty well, relatively quick. Played I think maybe 15 or 16 games from memory over a 4 or 5 year period. 23-year-old, and Callum Moore, obviously from the Tigers, a sort of powerful, fast, utility, mostly forward, who can go back. Not a great sort of natural footballer. He was rookie listed by the Tigers. He's another one who's 23, 24 years of age. Didn't get a lot of games at the Tigers. They both played as well. Didn't do a lot. But I'm just going to put it on the line now. I was so impressed with 18-year-old Northern Knights product, Ryan Sturgess. Maybe I'm getting a bit carried away here, but his game, it just blew me away. I was so impressed. I knew there was a fourth, Ryan Sturgess, coming to try out. And when he ran onto the ground, he was actually the first out of the four to come on. I think he came on midway through the third period of the game. The number 48 drifted out, and I thought, oh, who's this kid? Within half a minute, he'd taken the contested grab and used it well. And he was just there. He looks like a footballer. I've been trying to find out reasons why he wasn't rookie listed or even drafted. He looked everything like a seasoned footballer at 18 years of age. I suppose that the knock on him is his height. He's sort of in between. He's not small and he's not tall. He's around about that 189 centimetres, but I think he plays taller than his height suggests. He's very, very good in the air. He reads it really well. I read a report on it that he spent a fair bit of last year going forward after being a intercept defender. He represented Vic Metro. He's a high possession winner. And he needs to work on his disposal. Was one of the knocks as well. But the word is that he's got a fantastic attitude. He works hard, and I couldn't be more impressed. In fact, he showed more in that part than some of our blokes who've been on the list. And I'm not going to mention them. You know who they are. For 12 months and 2 years have shown in that period of time. It was an outstanding performance. I'd be gobsmacked if he's not the one they're seriously thinking about at the moment. So Ryan, keep an eye out for Ryan Sturgess. He's going to have to get his opportunity. I don't know if he'll play this week against the Dockers, but obviously he'll be getting a few games with the Northern Blues. Yeah, so Ryan Sturgess to me will be hopefully the boy that gets the nod, and I know. A lot of you be thinking, well, does he come in? Is he able to come in and play straight away? Well, maybe not, but I think he's got the attributes to be a pretty good player down the line if we can develop him well. And I think we take that punt on the kid rather than bringing in a real. I think the other three are fringe players from my point of view. I don't think we're going to get a lot of football out of Webb. Obviously, done his hamstring. I'm not overly impressed with Cunico. We've been burnt by Geelong fringe players in the past. And I'm not a huge rap of the football ability of Callum Moore. So he's my pick at the moment, Ryan Sturgess. And a couple of other points just to finish off. This year is about patience with our kids. It really is. I think we're now in a position, this is a really big one of me this year, we're now in a position to let these kids develop at a steady rate. And I'm not just talking about... the first year players, look at that, hello, there you go. I'm not just talking about the first year players in, the likes of Philp, because he played a nice game the other night and he's got a lot of ability, but, there's a lot of things he needs to learn. I think he's a real long shot to play in the round one against Tigers. I'll be surprised if he does, unless he absolutely burns in the next couple of games. Then you got Ramsey, you got Honey, Phillips, and then obviously Kemp coming back. Kemp's the interesting one, obviously highly rated, coming off an ACL. And then you've got the second stringers, the guys who have been on the list for a couple of years, your Finbar O'Dwyer's, Ben Silvani's and Matt Owies, etc. And then, the three I want to talk about in this regard is Dow, Stocker, O'Brien and DeConning. That they're not going to be guaranteed games this year. And I don't think it's such a bad thing that they've got to earn their spot now. And I think we're in a position now where we've got some depth. And if you're out of form or if you're not performing at the Northern Blues, and you're not developing at a rate to be brought at a game at senior level, then you're just going to have to stay there until until a spot opens up or you're in good form. So it's about patience. It's about trusting, the blokes are in good form. It's about trusting David Teague and not gifting games anymore. I think, we're in a situation now where we don't have to gift games. When we were going through the rebuild at the start, we had to play the likes of Lockie O'Brien and Paddy Dow and Stocker last year as well. That's not to say that they're not going to be good AFL players. They're going to have to earn their stripes, and they're going to have to make sure that they're playing good football at the low of the year. Don't worry about Liam Stocker. Okay, there's people out there worried about Liam Stocker. He's playing his second year of senior football. He showed a bit last year. Let the kid develop at the Northern Blues. And this is my last point I want to finish on, guys. I'm not here to knock the Northern Blues. I'm more here as someone who wants to see our young players developed like professionals and develop properly. And sometimes I think there's a real disconnect between the Northern Blues and our footy club, the Carlton Football Club. I think the catch cry this year is all of us, and I would love to see it seriously considered and put into place now that we have our own VFL side and we're all under the banner of the Carlton Football Club. Nothing against the Northern Blues and the old Preston Football Club, but I think it's time that our younger players are in an environment which is Carlton, going back and playing for really another club essentially. It doesn't sit comfortably with me. I don't think we've been able to develop younger players properly, or not so much properly, but at the level that other clubs have been able to do. And Richmond's a fine example of that. They've gone, they cut ties with Coburg, gone away with their own VFL team, won the VFL Premiership last year. So I'm not saying the Northern Blues need to be, top four. I just want them to be strong and to be developing our young players. It's so important that the likes of Ramsey, the likes of Stocker and Dow and O'Brien, if they're not going to be playing senior football, but they're going back into a really strong environment. And sometimes I don't think that happens. And there's been a lot of, I suppose, a lot of worried Carlton fans, a lot of concerned Carlton fans about that. And then once again, it's no disrespect to the Northern Blues and to the old Preston Football Club, because they've been, fantastic for the old VFA and the VFL system over many years. But I think it's about time a professional football club striving to be, the greatest football club in the country, that we become fully professional, and that is having our own VFL team, which we have complete control over. Games played at Icon Park, all our own coaches, looking after our young kids. That's about it. I look forward to having a chat to you guys again after the game against Fremantle in Mandurah, I think it is, over in WA. Should be a good hit out. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing how we go in. I think it was pretty predictable, our back six. Midfielders getting more time. Setterfield, Gibbons was in there. Setterfield was good. And our forward structure, obviously Eddie in there, Big Levi and Kennedy and Silvani as those sort of hybrid forwards. I thought Jack's game was really good as well. That's about it. If you like these videos, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys again soon.